Open quote. I partially agree with you, not 100%. I probably should have thought my question through, at least how to word it. Incentive was part of what I was talking about. But if money isn't the incentive, it still brings the question to why would people need or want money to receive their groceries? Why not take money out of the picture altogether? When talking about a reduction of costs, and so in the future something will cost minus this or that, right? So with the milk example, it's actually gone up to $2.60 now. It's not $2.40. But with that example, right, let's just say $2.60, $2.40, 2 litre bottle of milk, in 100 years' time would be worth, or would cost, minus roughly $5, okay? So in putting this idea across to people, it makes it simple and easy to understand, alright, that in 100 years' time, when you get a bottle of milk, you get a bottle of milk and $5 worth of value. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll actually be given physical money with the product, but that would be accounted into your increased wages, the reduced costs in general, etc. But that's something abstract that you can't understand unless you're looking at an entire budget over 100-year period, and nobody's got the time to fully comprehend that and understand that. So it's simple just to say, you get a bottle of milk and you get $5 as well. Okay? That could be, again, that might just be an increase in your wages, increase in your welfare, or UBI, whatever they call it, Universal Basic Income. It'd just be an extra $5 on that every day. So it's not necessarily that you're actually being given money, because that would make things a lot more complicated. There's no point for that, as you're pointing out here. So obviously it would just be accounted into like increased in wages, etc., and reduction in costs and more free things. Yeah? Why not take money out of the picture altogether? Again, the only reason it's in the picture is so people can understand what the picture is. But in the reality, it's not really in the picture in that way. I hope that explains it for people. Also brings up the question of why would the increase of value of the dollar be relevant if money isn't at least part of the incentive? Now, this is a great question which actually goes into the nature of economics, okay? The nature of economics and social interactions. Fundamentally, economics is the means by which human beings distribute and allocate resources amongst themselves and between each other, and then trade back and forth those resources, etc. Okay? That's the economy. Money is a little piece of paper that says, I owe you. Okay? So if you're working for IOUs, you're working for debt. If you're working for money, you're working for debt to be a slave. Alright? It's just pieces of paper that say you owe a debt, or a debt is owed. The value of money doesn't exist in the money. The value of currency exists in the collective acceptance of a population that a currency has money. A currency has value. We could swap out Australian dollars for clams. And if everyone agreed that a clam is the same value as $1 Australian, then if you have 100 clams, then you can go to the shop and you can spend 100 Australian dollars worth of, or you can, buy 100 Australian dollars worth of products with 100 clams. Okay? Because it's not the money or the clams that have value, it's the people agreeing to take or not take the money or the clams for that said value in exchange for some other goods. And it's the simple only point for this is so if I produce cows and you produce chickens, sometimes it's a bit confusing, you know? It's like you might only have 3 chickens to trade on that specific day, but I don't feel that's a fair trade for one of my cows, because I want at least like 20 of your chickens for one of my cows, otherwise you're ripping me off. But you haven't got the chickens on that day, So you can't get your meat, you can't feed your family, you can't have no beef. But if you have some money instead, all right, then you don't have to worry about having those exact amount of chickens to trade for my exact one cow to make it a fair trade. You can have money there instead of chickens, and so you'll just give me a bit of the money for my cow, and then I can use that money to get 20 chickens. So I'm still actually just trading my cow for 20 chickens. Even though you paid money for my cow, I'm not trading for the money. That's just a piece of paper that says I owe you 20 chickens. So I'm still actually trading even though I'm receiving money when I sell my goods, I'm not selling my money selling my goods for the money. I'm selling my goods for other goods and services that I would otherwise barter for with my goods and services. Okay? So, the question of why would the increase of value of the dollar be relevant if money isn't at least part of the incentive is because money isn't a part of the physical economy. Again, it's just a piece of paper that says I owe you. And that's why it can be digital as well. It can just be you can type it up in a notepad on a computer and say I owe you this much money. And that's your bank account. That's literally how an online bank account works. It's just people typing numbers on a thing saying this is how much you owe and how much people owe you and blah blah. But there's no actual value in the numbers in your bank account. There's only value in the goods and services that you can accumulate with those numbers in your bank account. That's what it's for. So even in our current economy, there's no incentive to make money. And if anyone is actually trying to make money, they have a mental problem. They're insane. Because you don't make money. That's literally, it's just a piece of paper to say, I owe you. Why would you want that? Obviously, you have an incentive to receive goods and services, to have the things that you want in your life. That's the incentive. Yeah? Nobody goes to work for money. People go to work so they can have money to pay the bills and buy the things that they want for their family and themselves. So if people are just given the things that they need for themselves and their family, alright, obviously there's no incentive to make money. But there's still an incentive to work, because the incentive to work is not related at all to the incentive to make money, which is a mental illness. Or a slave mentality, which is a form of mental illness. So again, if you're free, and you understand how basic economy works and trade between humans, a bartering system, where we trade goods and services, then you don't even need to ask the question of incentive in regards to money. There should be no incentive for money. If you have an incentive to make money, again, that's called a mental illness. You should have an incentive to receive goods and services. Something you can actually use in your life, not just a random note or numbers on a computer that says, I owe you. Yeah? Anyway. Any more questions? Hit me up, brother. Cheers, take it easy.